Where to begin? In wake of recent events, I did not think I was going to be making a video on this, but something compelled me to. And it wasn't a case of evidence or speculation or anything like that. It had to do with the media and the reporting and everything else surrounding the incidents at hand. And it's come to a point where the amount of cognitive dissonance and virtue signaling from the left is so absurd to the point where it seems like they're in shock that they have absolutely no idea why an Islamic terrorist would want to blow himself up to kill other people, children mainly, at a concert in Manchester. So the amount of Twitter posts that I've seen, the amount of Reddit posts, whatever, it's mainly focusing on this whole absurdity of, oh, it's Islamophobic, or Islamophobia in general, because, oh, you know, this bomber just happened to be a Muslim, so people are going to use this to politicize and attack Muslims and this, that, and this. No. That's not how this works. A Islamic terrorist killed 22 people, including children, at a concert in Manchester, England. Those are the facts. You cannot deny it. You cannot just pretend that nothing happened or that we should just ignore it solely due to the fact that it was perpetrated by an Islamic terrorist. We have to recognize the root cause: Islamic terrorism. We need to use those words in daily speech to describe attacks such as, because it's the truth. You cannot, just because you don't like it, just because you don't want to believe that something has happened, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Because Islamic terrorists will kill. That is their ideology. They don't care who you are. They don't care what you believe. They just know that you are not them and they have a God-given right to kill you. That is their belief. Whether you want to believe that or not, that is the truth. Those are the facts. And people need to accept that. People need to pull their heads out of their asses. They need to accept the fact that there are people out in this world that their purpose in life is to find people like us and to kill us. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is their end goal, and they will not stop until everybody else that is not like them, that is either subjugated or enslaved, is killed in probably the most inhumane way as possible. Now, I watched a video that Steven Crowder made this morning about the attack that happened, and he described that political Islam is completely incompatible with Western society and modern society in general, and I completely agree with him. Because if you want to practice Islam as a religion in a secular or even semi-secular way, you are perfectly fine to do that. If you are in the United States, you have a First Amendment right to the freedom of religion, and no one can tell you yes or no that you cannot practice a religion, regardless of what it is. Now, if you believe in political Islam, such as Sharia courts, such as marrying women and girls, to the age of 6 years old, if you believe in the fact that your holy book tells you to beat your wife, and you believe that to be true, you do not belong in modern society. You need to take those ideologies back to the century that they came from and leave them there. This is the 21st century. This is the modern society that we need to uphold. And ideology such as that cannot coexist. It is impossible. And you cannot force somebody with an ideology like that to coexist in the 21st century because they will not accept it. Because according to their point of view, they need to conquer the world and kill us all. And there is nothing that we can do to stop them. But we will stop them because we are modern. We live in a modern society that we don't, not even 100 years ago, millions were dying because of basically no reason whatsoever. During the First World War, a bunch of monarchies decided that they just wanted to attack each other. And in the 21st century, you don't have that. You don't have territorial disputes. You don't have geopolitical disputes that you had 100 years ago. You just don't have it anymore. But guess what the Islamic terrorists have been doing for over 1,400 years? They've been doing exactly that. They've been trying to kill and to conquer. And that's their main goal. Whether you want to believe it or not, that is their goal. Now, look at what's happening in the Philippines right now. A militant group supported by ISIS has nearly taken control of an entire island of the Philippines. In the 21st century, Islamic terrorists have pretty much conquered part of a sovereign nation. That blows my fucking mind that we have allowed something like this to happen. Now, I understand that the Philippines have been going through an interesting situation with their president basically underhanding and basically telling former President Obama to go fuck himself, and I completely agree with that. But now it's a case of the Philippines are just, they're in a state of disarray because they have these Islamic terrorists that have taken over or is trying to take over one of their islands. In the 21st century, that is happening. Islamic terrorism and Islamic terrorists have invaded and are trying to conquer a foreign nation in the 21st century. That just blows my mind. This isn't even the main part of the story. This isn't the main media story. Neither is according to CNN, neither is the terrorist attack in Manchester. They're more worried about some stupid anonymous allegation against the President of the United States than 22 people, including children, that were murdered by an Islamic terrorist. Come the fuck on, people. What does it take? What will it take for people to take shit like this seriously? The mainstream media needs to take this shit seriously, whether or not they actually want to talk about it. That is the point of the media. They are to report the truth, whether or not they like it or agree with it. Now, I know this whole thing just seems like totally, anti-Muslim, anti-Islamic, whatever the fuck you want to interpret this as. That's your own deal. I'm just here to rant. I'm not forcing you to listen to this, but I'm probably going to be ranting for a lot longer now. So buckle up, go grab something to drink, because I'm going to be here a while. Now that you've done whatever you need to do, I'm going to be here for a little while longer. So, I'm going to be focusing this part of the video recording. I'm going to be focusing this next half onto specifically talking about the media and its inability to actually report the truth in light of recent events. So, the attack in Manchester. 22 people killed. First thing people put on Twitter is either that it's going to be a Muslim, it's going to be an Islamic terrorist, or it's going to be some lone wolf, possible white supremacist. That's pretty much all I saw. Now that as soon as the facts came out that he was an Islamic terrorist, he was a devout Muslim, and the fact that his parents were refugees to the UK, that brings up the case of why wasn't this stuff reported across the board? Media should have been all over this, reporting the facts, but they didn't. Now, of course, you'll get independent media sources and people who operate independently as individuals for media as reporting this as truth, but you get the big mainstream media people, such as like the BBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, whatever, that outright refuse to label this as a case of Islamic terrorism. And that is a blatant fallacy of the truth. You need to report the truth whether you like it or not. That applies to both ways. If you are a conservative and you need to report on something you don't like, you need to report on it. If you're a liberal, you need to report on something whether you like it or not. That's how the media is supposed to work. It's not a case of, oh, I don't like this story, so I'm not going to report on it. Who gives a fuck if you don't like it? You need to report on it. That is just how the world works. Or rather, you would think it would work that way, but that's a different story. Now, the fact came out that it was an Islamic terrorist, and suddenly, out of the woodwork, virtue signaling. Oh my god, the virtue signaling. Twitter post after Twitter post after Twitter post of, oh, don't use this case to spread your hate and Islamophobia. An Islamic terrorist killed 22 people, including children. You can go fuck yourself with your fucking virtue signaling. I'm not gonna sit here and let you lecture me about an ideology that gets off on killing people that do not believe in the same way that they do. Fuck off. In a world such as this, we need to look at something like that and say, that is not okay. Whatever just happened is not okay, and we need to go above and beyond to make sure that something like that does not happen again. Whether or not I like the policies that would be in place because of it, it needs to happen. Now, Prime Minister of England, or Prime Minister of the UK rather, Theresa May, went out and said that she either did or is expecting the terror level to rise, the preparedness level or whatnot. And people everywhere are saying that this is like, oh, 1984, oh, martial law, oh, she's trying to take over oh, because it's an election cycle, she's using this to scare people. No, she's reacting to an Islamic terrorist who killed people. That's what you do. Look what happened when 9/11 happened. Everybody freaked the fuck out. And for good reason, because thousands of people died on that day. And thousands more died in the days after. You cannot sit here and tell me that a natural reaction to Islamic terrorism is oppression and somehow Islamophobia. No. A phobia implies a fear. A rational fear. Well, guess what? I guess I have a rational fear of an ideology that wants to kill me. Because I'm nominally a Christian. I believe, I read the Bible from now and then. And if I were to go to an Islamic country and say that, I could be jailed for apostasy and even killed. Because that is their laws. That's why I love living in the United States of America, because I have that freedom. I have the freedom to say whatever the fuck I want, and nobody can tell me otherwise. Now, with the United States is the wonderful case of freedom, whether you like it or not. I believe in free speech. Do I believe in the concept of hate speech? No, absolutely not. Now, hate preaching, on the other hand, is a different story. Because the difference being, hate speech is only defined as speech that you don't like. If you don't like something, label it as hate speech and try to get it censored. Now, hate preaching is you taking an ideology and trying to spread that ideology to other people by either means of force, or the ideology you're spreading is using violence and force in its ideals. Now, look at the case of where a American sect of the Nazi Party, I believe it was during the 70s, requested to have a parade, and the city or town or whatever they were going to have that parade in denied them on the grounds that they were Nazis. So they took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you have to let them hold this parade, because the United States Constitution protects their right of speech and expression, regardless of if you like it or not. Now, was that parade peaceful? Absolutely. Nobody died. Nobody was shot. Believe what you may, someone having a parade, isn't really going to hurt anybody. And of course, this was back in the past. Now, in modern times, when you see reportings in the UK where you have all these hate preachers in the street, and it's like you're just letting this happen. Now, I understand it's going to sound a bit hypocritical, and I will admit, but what I'm saying here is you should not be censored just because someone doesn't like what you have to say. So I understand that just contradicts all that I just said for probably like the past 5 minutes or so, but I don't really care, because I'm expressing an opinion, and my opinion is that if you're going to speak, you need to be allowed to speak. But if you're going to preach about an ideology that others need to conform to, or else they are going to kill them, that is a different story. That is a threat, and threats are not protected under free speech. Now, the UK and all of Europe have totally different laws. That is the number one thing that I will always love about the United States, is because our country was founded on freedom. And freedom, whether you agree with it or not, is still freedom. So in the United States, free speech is protected. Free speech is protected over every other right in the Constitution for a reason. And that reason being is that freedom of speech and freedom of expression allow for the exchange of ideas. And that exchange of ideas can bring about good, bad, and the consequences thereof. Now, when you look at ideologies such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, any other religion, they all want to say that they are the best religion that you can follow, pretty much. So you have many different sects and subsections of Christianity. Of course, you have like Catholicism, Lutheranism, Baptism, Methodist, Eastern Orthodox, all that kind of stuff. And then you have Judaism, and you have traditional Judaism, you have Orthodox, you have a little bit of variations, but not as widespread as Christianity. Now you get to Islam, you've got the mains of the Sunnis and the Shiites, and little sects here and there, little tribes, whatever, and they all believe in their different version of Islam, just like Christians and just like Jews. Now, the difference between a lot of these religions is that in Christianity and Judaism is founded on a principle of when you look at the Ten Commandments, one of them does say, thou shalt not kill, but it's a case of thou shalt not murder. You are not allowed to willingly take somebody's life for no reason. Now, in Islam, it only says that you are not allowed to kill other Muslims. Now, it says specifically that you are not allowed to kill Muslims of the same faith. Now, what Islamists have been doing for the past 1400 years is if they see a group of Muslims that they don't like, they label them as a different part of Islam, and according to them now, they can go kill them because they are not true Muslims. They're a different type of Muslim. So now they're going to go kill them. And this has been going on for thousands of years, hundreds of years, hundreds into thousands of years. Now, that is the big problem that I have with Islam, is the fact that in their book, it tells them that they are to kill the non-believers. Now, people will say, oh, well, we'll look at the Bible. It says to, kill the gays and, stone the sinners. Well, and I tell you, okay, look at the New Testament. Look at when Jesus came to earth, he looked at the Old Testament and pretty much said, hey, some of this stuff is stupid. Let's not do it. Let's be good people. Let's be good people to each other. And that's what his ideology, Christianity, was founded on, was to treat everybody as not only yourself, but how everybody should be treated. Treated well, treated fairly. Now, fairly is, up for debate because some people say, oh, well, Jesus was a socialist. Well, no, he was not a socialist. He believed in outcome based upon input. So if you were going to be good to him, he was going to be good to you. If you were going to be bad to him, he was not going to be good to you. Now, he would might have turned the other cheek. All of this is up to speculation. I didn't know Jesus, and I guarantee you nobody alive would have ever known what Jesus would have actually done. But here's my speculation on that. He would have turned the other cheek, and he would not have helped that person in the immediate. But if that person were to have need help, he would have helped him, because that is the good thing to do. Now, you look at Islam. Islam specifically states that they must kill the infidel. Now, I'm not going to go into very much detail. I'm not going to give you specific verses of the Quran because you can look that stuff up for yourself. It's in every variation of the book. So, it tells them specifically that they are going to war with the infidels and they are to kill them to appease Allah. Now, that when I hear that, when I hear somebody tell me and when I read that, I think to myself and go, holy shit, these people have been believing this for 1,400 years and nobody's questioned it. And if anybody's questioned it, they're touted as a non-Muslim and they are killed. And that is how this ideology is. That's how this ideology has been for 1,400 years, is you will submit and you will subjugate yourself to Islam or we will kill you. And that is incompatible. That goes back to the main point of this, near the 25-minute rant so far, is the incompatibility of political Islam in the 21st century. You can't just go around in the streets and murder people because they don't believe in what you believe. That's just not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And this whole what I'm talking about right now can apply to anything. You can't just say somebody's a racist because they disagree with you. You can't just call somebody a sexist because they disagree with you. You can't file a police report over a tweet that somebody made that you don't like. That shit happens all the time. You just don't do that. But you had your feelings hurt. Boo fucking who? Get the fuck over it. This pettiness of the world and the oh, woe is me and this and that. Who fucking cares? Nobody cares that your meaningless existence is, you feel so threatened by it that you have nothing to amount in your life but the fact that you are worthless, you are meaningless, and the best thing you can do is go out into the street and cry, whine, and complain. Is that all people have to offer in this world? So this video's got kind of ranty. It's kind of not necessarily misguided, but it's kind of all over the place. But I'm gonna end it with a tiny little rant about Twitter. And Twitter is one of those platforms where people can just say what the hell they want, and it'll happen at a moment's notice, and people will see it at a moment's notice. And Twitter is one of those amazing platforms because it allows anybody of any ideology in any spectrum to have a almost immediate way of expressing their ideas. And the co-founder of Twitter had the gall to come out and say that he wish it was not that way because, quote unquote, President Trump was elected. Boo fucking who? Your platform worked against your ideology. Congratulations. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook has been going out of its way to censor posts that they don't like because of a quote unquote community standard that is so double-sided that fucking Two-Face would be jealous. Now, and then you also have a platform such as Tumblr, which has allowed this festering of misinformation and an ideology of the world that is based entirely upon fallacies to spread far and wide and so hard and deep into people's minds that they are so entrenched in this narrow mindset of the world when even a sliver of reality comes into view, they shut down. And they shut down entirely and hard. And they screech in the most primal rage that their tiny little sliver of what they deem to be reality is threatened. And that is the giant problem that we have with the world today, is the fact that we are allowing the internet to dictate people's lives. We are allowing the wonderful piece of technology that is the internet to completely absorb and to completely brainwash people from almost the moment that they are born. Now, I was lucky enough to be born into a generation where technology was still, it was advancing at an accelerated rate, but to the point where technology hadn't completely taken over the average day-to-day life. Now, you have today where you've got smartphones, tablets, portable PCs, so many interactions with the World Wide Web in the palm of your hands that it's not really allowing people that are growing up in today's day and age to experience the world without the constant pressure of social media. And that is what I believe is the biggest downfall with the 21st century, is we are allowing social media to kind of for lack of a better word, to weave its way into our own lives to the point where we what's the word I'm looking for? We're allowing social media to control our lives, whether we believe it or not. And I wholeheartedly believe that the internet itself was humanity's greatest invention and its greatest downfall, because yes, it allows the spread of truth, science, and information to be spread at the speed of light, but it also allows the inverse, to allow fallacies and lies and slander to be slewn in the same capacity. And what is easier, to create or to destroy? Is it easier to find and dig out the facts of a situation and to present the truth, or is it easier to just say something and put it out there as fact and to just roll with it? And that is the problem that we are having with this day and age, and it's been happening. I would say for the past probably 10 or 12 years now, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad for the world today. And whenever I see somebody or notice somebody that has the relative ideology that I share with myself, which is the search for the facts, the search for the truth, and I wasn't always like that. I will completely admit, all the way through high school, even into 2014 and 2015, I saw something that I agree with, and I would automatically share it around and say, hey, this thing I agree with, it must be true. Until I've been finding a bunch of independent people on YouTube, people on Reddit, people on Twitter that I've been following, and they're people that go out and look specifically for the truth regardless of political spectrum. And I've been listening to these people for the past year, about year and a half now, and it has allowed me to kind of see the world not through rose-tinted glasses, but to see the horror and the disgust that this world actually is. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I would rather now know the truth of the situation, whether or not I liked it or agreed with it, rather than be fed a lie for the rest of my life. And that's pretty much going to end this right now. It's been going on for well over 30 minutes. And I hope you've learned something useful. I hope you can. I hope to God you can actually listen and sit through these this near 32-minute video, or it's going to go over 32 minutes, but that you might have learned something, that you might have taken in what I've said. You might have taken it with a grain of salt, of course, as always, and do some research yourself. That's what I do. Anytime I listen to a podcast or whatever and they talk about a specific topic, I will go out of my way to look up the information about this topic and to learn more about it. And if it turns out that my initial observations were false, I'll look at that and go, that's something I didn't know. I'm glad I know this now. And I'm not going to be public about it, but I know at least in my mind that that I found the truth. And it may or may not be something that I like, but I will hold that truth in mind, and if somebody else starts spouting fallacies, whether it be in one direction or the other, I will attempt to curtail that. Now, I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything I say. In fact, I don't want you to agree with everything that I have to say, because no two people in this world will ever think exactly the same. At all. Whether or not they agree on 1,000 different things, there's always going to be at least one thing that people are going to be that someone's going to disagree with someone on, and that's just human nature. Now, if you of course have any insightful thoughts, I will be putting this on YouTube, so you can put that in the comments below. Now, whether or not this video gets age restricted based on language, I don't really care, because I'm just going to be sharing this with friends, family, that sort of thing. But if you have any insightful comments, you can leave those. What I'll do is I'll put my Twitter down in the description as well if you wanna follow me, throw in a tweet here or two. I'm not going to be linking Facebook or any personal information or even emails or anything like that. Probably just my Twitter, and that's going to be it. But other than that, it's approaching on nearly 35 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed. If not, it's at the beginning of the video, but my voice is kind of raspy. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to leave this entire thing unedited, and it's going to be horrible. There's going to be a lot of pauses, but yeah, if you've made it to this far, you can kind of understand. And if you know me personally, by the sound of my voice or by me sharing this video, then you know exactly, this is pretty much exactly who I am and how I rant. So this is it. I guess I'll leave it at that, and I will rant later. Good night.